YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with my Week 5 XFL picks. Interesting week last week, very unpredictable week. But we're going to go game by game, take a look at the spreads, make my picks against the spreads, and then make my picks straight up for this Week 5. Right before we get started, we have something new going on here, the Goat House podcast. You'll find a link down below for Spotify and Apple. Really enjoying that, hoping to add more. And then 2 channels here. Please subscribe to both. Follow our Twitter, Instagram. You'll find all the links you need in the description and the comments. So didn't pick in week 1, but so weeks 2 up to this point, 8 for 12 straight up picks and 9 for 12 picks against the spread was on fire up until last week. Only got 1 correct for both. I think some things have changed a bit. You know, we're learning a little bit more here. I always talked about in the beginning of the NFL seasons, it's still a mystery. Everyone thinks they got teams figured out. Some teams start off hot, but things really change. I think that's kind of what's happening here. So kind of getting a better identity and new identity on some teams. So we'll kind of break it down here. The first game is Seattle at Houston. Nothing really changing here. Houston's the best team in the XFL. Seattle is towards the bottom. Seattle's okay running the ball. They got a decent defense. There's just not enough firepower on that team, and that's exactly what Houston has on both sides of the ball. I've been raving about some defensive players on Houston, even guys like Edmund Robinson, who had a big game once again. And then obviously P.J. Walker, who's been fantastic, the MVP of the league for Houston. I'm going Houston for the win, straight up, as you can see by that W. And then the spread pick, I'm going to go with Houston as well. It's a tough one because 13 points is a lot. Seattle, I talked about it last week, even though I picked St. Louis to cover. I knew it was tough because Seattle doesn't really get beat big by teams because they run the clock a lot and don't really give you a chance to get up. But they're going to have to, figure it out. They're going to have to go for some bigger plays. They're really not doing that. So, and Houston's just so much better. So, I'm going to go Houston wins by at least 2 touchdowns. That's cutting it pretty close. But it's a tough one because 13 is a lot of points. But I'm confident in Houston winning at home. Best team in the XFL. But they're going to have to lose sometime, or maybe not. The only undefeated team left, so we'll see. The next game is New York at Dallas. So you see my against the spread pick and my straight up pick is going to be different here. New York had a good game last week. Their defense has been pretty good all along. They just haven't had the weapons, and they haven't had the greatest QB play. They get Luis Perez in there, star from the AAF, and he played a pretty solid game. It was mainly the defense that won them the game last week. And then Dallas at home. It's another tough one. I definitely like New York with the spread pick. Plus 7.5. 7.5 points is quite a bit. I was surprised by that. Maybe it'll change, but that's a bit for this, how good this defense is. And Dallas, pretty good team. Obviously a team that some may think could win it all here. But they'll turn the ball over here and there, and that could cost me. And going against a good defense, that could be the difference, and it could be a reason New York could win the game. I'm still picking Dallas at home. I think they're overall the better team, but I think closer than 7.5. I think we're looking at a 3-4 point game here. I mean, even if Dallas wins by 7 points and you took New York, you're looking good there by half a point. So that kind of split the spread pick and the straight up pick here for this one. We'll see if we got a new look New York. I think we kind of do. Good defense. Do they have enough talent on offense? So that's kind of the question. And then moving on to the next game here. Another tough one because DC was looking like, right there with Houston. Top tier team. Maybe the best team. They lost 2 straight, 2 very disappointing games. Getting blown out by LA, and thought that was okay because LA was a lot better than we once thought. They got Josh Johnson back. Just a rough off game for DC and Cardale Jones, and they get to play the worst team in the league this week against Tampa, who did have a change at quarterback. But that really wasn't the thing. The problem was DC just couldn't score points. So. And they, threw in, Jackson, another QB that, actually could be their better one perhaps. So they have problems on offense now, which is supposed to be one of the higher powered offenses in the league. And they, their defense is okay, not okay in that Tampa game, get up that many points, but their offense sure didn't help them. So it's very tough. St. Louis is a good balanced team. They'll run the clock. Ta'amu does a good job running, and obviously he can sling it as well. But their defense has been fantastic. So the matchup to me just favors St. Louis. They're the better team recently, and then they can make DC continue to struggle with their offense because of how good their defense is. So I'm going to go St. Louis. Going to go with, I guess, who's a little better recently. And then another tough one. I mean, this could go either way. In the spread pick, obviously if DC wins, you lose by picking St. Louis with the spread pick because they got to win by over 3 points. But I just do not like the way there's really nothing that I've seen that's going to make me pick DC in this one. I just can't, I think St. Louis, bad match for them. Just all around the more balanced team it is in DC. Maybe they're going to figure it out and kind of go back to stage one where they were at. But I'm going to go St. Louis here. I trust them a little more on offense, but for sure more on defense. Their defense going against DC's offense, mainly the thing there. Tough one, though. And the next one, Tampa at LA. LA looked great 2 weeks ago against DC, and we kind of expected that to keep on rolling. Maybe this is one of the better teams in the league. And then a little disappointing last week, for LA, so that kind of didn't match up. Tampa, all of a sudden, they got a new quarterback in there. They're really figuring out on both sides of the ball, a big-time win. And then maybe this is where they get going. It was just the early woes are gone, and now they're going to get going. That's just kind of how football, really sports works. That's very possible. It's still hard to pick them because, for the majority of this season, they've looked like easily the worst team. Will they finish that way? I'm actually starting to believe that they won't. But LA's better. I still like Josh Johnson. They started to heat up at the very end of that game. I think they'll kind of have more of a game plan and just going out there and just firing the ball and getting more points on the board. They're only -1 here. I have to go LA for me to feel good about picking Tampa. With either type of pick here, I have to see more. So I have to go LA. That's kind of what this week is. I'm confident with the picks, but it's kind of like I want to see more. Is this the new Tampa? Is this the new DC? In the negative way. Looking at the previous game, is that how they're going to be? That's why I'm picking St. Louis. Is there a new New York Guardians team? They got a new quarterback, but is their defense the real deal? It's pretty good, but do they have enough on offense? Teams like Houston, we expect to keep ripping along here. So I guess it felt like we learned a lot early and we had everybody figured out, but here we are trying to figure things out again with the XFL, and I guess that makes it more exciting. Who knows who can win it? I'd still keep it open to pretty much almost anybody, but Houston does seem like the favorite, but you never know what can happen at any time here. So I'm really excited for the playoffs. I can't wait to see what that's going to be like for this league. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Go ahead and subscribe to both of our channels. We have full NFL coverage already on the channel. Plenty more to come. Follow our Twitter, Instagram, podcast. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.